Hello, my beautiful ladies. And I know there is some gentlemen watching us, although we are only coming live on our beautiful Diamond Beauties Forever group. But I know the viewers out there, some gentlemen love our stories because they can relate. All of them have beautiful wives, daughters, mothers, aunts, sisters. So welcome everyone. I have an amazing guest, Soul of a Diamond today. My beautiful friend all the way from Australia, beautiful Suzi Dent. And she is coming to tell her story today. And I just told her why I love her so much. And we almost both had some tears in our eyes because we don't know how the universe is working to put people in your path. And sometimes you just need that information, that particular wording that day to set off your trajectory. And maybe I don't have the right, I cannot pronounce it, but your way to go do more and to be more. So my beautiful Susie, can you please introduce yourself and also tell us where you are? Said Australia, but introduce yourself and tell us something that nobody knows.
Hi, everyone. Thank you, Sonette, for such a beautiful introduction. It's so lovely to be here on Soul of a Diamond. I'm so excited to be here and speak to you all. My name is Suzi Dent. I'm an international motivational speaker, an author, a multi-award-winning film and television hair and makeup artist, and Mrs. Earth Australia 2017, an international beauty queen. Very pleased to be here.
Wow, amazing. And is there something that you can tell us that maybe nobody is knowing?
Yes, I don't drink alcohol. I'm allergic to alcohol, so I've never drunk alcohol my entire life. So
Wow,
that's a bit different, isn't
incredible.
it?
Incredible. I must say, I totally agree. I don't like it. I have tasted a few things in my life, but because of what happened to me in the past as a child, I don't like it. And that is finish. And if you were in South Africa, I will say finishing claw. Finish. I don't like it. My
Yeah.
beautiful Susie, we're gonna hear your amazing story in a few seconds. May I please play your video I've made for you? I dazzle-fied for you, made it Sonette's sparkles with your wedding. Are you ready for your beautiful gift?
I am. Thank you, darling.
Here we go.
Hello, I'm Suzi Dent. I'm a multi-award winning film and television hair and makeup artist, a motivational speaker, an MC, and author of 5 books so far. My favourite being 60 is the New 40, the ultimate guide to defying age. And defy age I did back in 2017 when I competed in the Mrs. Earth Australia competition and won, and found myself representing Australia in Vegas, coming third in the world against 36 other women. I'm also one of the women at the beginning of the Me Too movement. I'm very proud of that, and I look forward to speaking to you all as a presentation skills coach to help you get your story to the world.
How did you like your video?
I love it. Thank you, Sonette. It's been definitely Sonettified. It's fabulous. I absolutely love it. It's sparkling bright like you do. So beautiful. Thank you.
And I didn't ask you for your favorite color because most of the time I saw blue was the color that appeared everywhere. So I just knew in my heart blue, that type of light blue is, and the sparkles is you. And just want to let you know that the banner at the back where your little story and where people can connect to you will also then be in the Diamond Moment magazine. That will be like an advertisement for you to highlight even more things that if people want to connect. And then I've written an amazing story for you, how I now get to know you and how amazing that you are part of this amazing God-given project that I am busy with Soul of a Diamond. So my beautiful Susie, before you telling your story, one more video, please, if I ask your permission, and that will be for Natalie McQueen. She's going to be the publisher that's going to publish our compilation book as soon as we ready finish it off with all the shows. So can I play a video?
Yes, please.
Yeah, we go.
Hi there, my name is Natalie McQueen. I'm the founder of Gifts of Legacy. I am a book publisher and a legacy designer. I am thrilled to introduce my talking journal. This unique journal features recorded messages from 100 trailblazing contributors that we call our masters and mavens. Imagine a journal that you can hold in your hands and get daily prompts of inspiration from these mentor experts. I invite you to be one of our masters and mavens in our first edition on gratitude for $49. This is a low-cost, high-impact alternative to traditional publishing. I cannot wait to hear your inspirational message.
Wow. So not only is she going to do our publishing, but she have granted the Diamond Beauties this amazing opportunity to be one of a kind journal where the people can scan the QR code. They actually will go there and see our beautiful face. We will tell them a little bit about us. It's like a business card. And then we're going to prompt them to ask, what is the idea or the thought I need to put in that day's journal for themselves. It's going to be an amazing, amazing event. We don't even know in future how many people is going to buy that particular book. Our Diamond Beauties and Tanzanite Heroes is the first maidens and masons to be able to do this. So we don't even know in the future how many people is connecting with us through this amazing journal. What do you think about that, my beautiful Susie?
That's so incredible. And how amazing to be able to scan a QR code just like that. Things are so making things very, very easy now for people to connect all around the world and share their messages, which is just amazing. And a journal. So everybody loves a journal. Wow, that's so exciting, Sonette.
Wow, I am too. I am so exciting. So thank you, my beautiful Natalie, for being our sponsor for today's show. Now it's all over to beautiful Susie. Susie, you are welcome to start your story, your life story, any way that you want to see fit. And I know your story is an inspiration to millions around the world. Thank you for being you. Thank you for being amazing. And thank you for having the power and the strength to do what you have done and still doing. And I'm so happy to say that you are our public speaking expert in the Diamond Beauty Group. Thank you for everything. All over to you, my beautiful Susie.
Oh, thank you so much, Sonette. I'm very blessed to be here today. And thank you all for joining us on this fabulous episode of Sonette's wonderful show, Soul of a Diamond. I'll start my story at when I was 12. A lot of us, when we're younger, we have things happen in our life that affect us as we grow older as adults. Unfortunately, 4 out of 5 women are sexually assaulted in their lifetime. I was sexually assaulted for the first time when I was 12 years old. What it did to me is it made me change. It changed how I felt about my body, and it changed how I felt about my breasts when I was growing up. And as I grew into a woman and my breasts grew bigger, I tended to strap myself down. And I grew up in an era in the 1980s where men were felt quite welcome to touch women without actually having their permission. And that happened to me several times in my life.
So as I was growing up, I tended to dress more like a tomboy, and I would wear baggy clothes. I wasn't comfortable wearing dresses and high heel shoes. I felt that I lost all my confidence when I wore dresses. I didn't like to, I never showed my cleavage or a bra strap or anything like that. I didn't like to bring unwanted attention on myself from men, and I tended to, so I covered up. I became, at the age of 21, I became a makeup artist, which was amazing. When I trained to become a makeup artist at the age of 21, there was only one school in the entire country of Australia and New Zealand. So people came from all over Australia and New Zealand to be accepted into this school, but only accepted 25 people at a time each year. So I was one of 25 in this college that taught me how to be a makeup artist. And as soon as I walked in the door, I was not an academic at school. I was a sporty girl. I was a champion swimmer and an athlete. And as soon as I walked in the door of this place, which was called Three Arts Makeup Centre, and I could smell like you smell the grease paint, I knew that I was home, and I knew that I'd finally found the community that I really belonged to. And so I worked on my career as a makeup artist. And I worked in many television shows. And in 1986, I actually worked with a very famous man called Rolf Harris. And he was huge in Europe and in the UK and in Australia. He was a massive star. And I worked with him as his makeup artist at Channel 7 Studios. And unfortunately for me, he was a man who turned out to be a pedophile, and he also molested women, and he had a thing for makeup artists. And so he groped me all day in front of all the men on set. He couldn't keep his hands off me. Every time I went up to powder his nose, he kept touching me and touching me up and feeling me. So I had a bad day, a very bad day with a dirty old man. And at the end of the day, back then, we used to put very thick makeup on people because it was in the days of videos and very bright lights. And I knew that I wasn't going to go back into the little makeup room that was his and mine to take off his makeup because I wasn't safe in the studio with the male crew around me. No one stopped him. The director that I was working with was, who's like the boss. He was the same age as Rolf Harris. And when we first started at the beginning of our day, they were discussing my body and what I looked like and what my legs looked like. I was 23 at the time, like I was just not even there, which a lot of the time, it's funny, when we grow up, when I grew up, children were to be seen and not heard. And when I grew into a woman, I realised that women were still not heard. And I never told anybody what happened to me when I was 12, like many of us don't. And I'm sure there's many women that are listening right now that can relate to my story of keeping things to themselves. I didn't tell my parents. I thought I would get blamed. And you do that. You take on the responsibility as a child for what adults do to you because they give you that and they don't take responsibility themselves. So when what happened with Rolf Harris, I wasn't going to keep that quiet. As soon as the end of the day finished, I didn't go into that makeup room. I actually hid in a cupboard. There was a broom cupboard outside the makeup studio. I hid in that cupboard and watched through a crack in the door as he was leaving. So he was waiting outside my makeup room, and then all the big wigs of Channel 7 came down to get him, to escort him out the door because he was a mega star. He was the biggest star that had ever walked in the studio. But I refused to go in there, so I hid. And then when he'd gone, that's when I came out of the cupboard. So I knew that if I had gone in the room with him, he would have full-on sexually assaulted me. He would have shut the door and, I didn't have a chance. So I didn't put myself in that situation. I protected myself and stayed out of that, which was good. But I also didn't keep it a secret. I immediately reported it to the woman who was the head of the makeup department there. And it's funny, she said to me, "Oh, I thought you knew." And I said, "Knew what?" And she said, "His nickname is the Octopus. He does this to all makeup artists." And I was quite dismayed, I must admit. I felt like I had either been chosen to be something that he liked to look at and touch. And I actually felt a bit betrayed by the woman for not telling me what was probably about to happen to me and not giving me a warning and not giving me a heads up. So I would not have been so surprised and so shocked. The rule in my industry is you never upset the talent before they're going to go on camera. Back in the 1980s, women didn't have a voice. We couldn't tell men to F off. We couldn't push them away. We were told to grin and bear it. There were sayings in my country, boys will be boys, which basically meant, oh, well, men can't control themselves. You know, I was told several times in my life, well, you're so pretty. I couldn't help myself. I just had to touch you. Well, that's not my fault. It's their fault for touching me, you know. So I went through life feeling like I had to cover myself up and the way I looked for my own safety. And I did that for 30 odd years, which was an interesting experience. So as I was saying in the beginning, when assault and things happen to us in our childhood, it changes the trajectory of our life as adults, and we don't necessarily reach our full potential unless we really start to deal with the things that happen to us as children and actually give ourselves the gift of forgiveness. That is something that we can give ourselves, because the only way we actually heal is when we speak. When we keep things inside ourselves, we don't heal. It festers and it grows and it becomes bigger than it really should. And that kind of happened to me. So I did tell everybody. I told so many people. People would often ask me who the best and the worst star that I worked with, and the best star would often change because I worked with so many international and national TV stars. I would always have different favourites, but the worst was always him, and I knew that I would never work with him again, and I'd never be in a room with him again, and I'd never go near him again. So if we flash forward to 2013. I had won multiple awards as a makeup artist by then. I had a very long and illustrious career, which I still have as a makeup artist. I was watching a current affairs show on television, and I saw this woman who was talking about being assaulted by Rolf Harris when she was a 14-year-old girl as a dancer, a backup dancer, a child dancer. He worked with children a lot, and I knew that she wasn't lying. And unfortunately, back then, the press accused her of lying, and they really dragged her through the mud. And I knew that I had never been quiet, and I would be a complete hypocrite if I didn't come forward. So I actually watched this show with my then husband, and he went downstairs, and I started Googling Scotland Yard in the UK. And I sent off an email that night and mentioned a few choice words like the octopus, and that I was the makeup artist that worked with him. And I got onto the right place, which was amazing. And they got back to me very quickly within a matter of days. And the man who ran this now very famous police kind of operation called Operation U-Tree contacted me by phone to ask me to tell my story in detail. So I gave my story. I was called a bad character witness because it was a historical crime and it was happening in Australia. And they decided that women had come forward about Rolf Harris, and it had become known to the press, and many women came forward. We're talking dozens of women around the world with very similar stories of assault. And I was chosen by the judge to be one of 10 witnesses to come forward, and I was sent to England to take the stand in the trial of Rolf Harris. Back then, society in the UK and Australia and New Zealand and Malta and South Africa loved Rolf Harris, and none of us were believed as witnesses. We were just women that were doing it for the money, and we just wanted attention. And, we were all liars because, of course, Rolf Harris would never have done anything like this to anybody, and that turned out to be completely untrue. We all gave our testimonies in court. I was called, like I said, a bad character witness because I talked about my day at work with him. There were women who were little girls that were sexually molested by him. It turns out that he was a pedophile that had actually been abusing people and using his power and his position and his fame and his money to take advantage and to do whatever he liked to women and girls for decades. So in 2014, me and 8 other women and one man were part of a very, very important court case that saw Rolf Harris jailed and sentenced to 5 years and 9 months for crimes against women and girls as a pedophile. That was amazing. That became Operation U-Tree in the UK is now famous. It also uncovered singers like Gary Glitter, very big stars back then, and all men who again, they were given this kind of position in life that they took advantage of and abused women. So many were sent to jail, which was amazing. And it's amazing to be part of such a case now. And since then, I've become an advocate for victims, survivors of sexual assault, men and women around the world. We were all granted lifelong anonymity by the British courts because it wasn't actually safe for us to have our names put out there in the public, because society were in such disbelief, and because he had such a massive fan base. It turns out he is the 5th biggest star in the world of our generation, which is pretty huge. And to, step out and go against someone with such power and such money was very brave, to be quite honest, for all of us to do. So I stayed quiet. When I was in the courtroom, my 12-year-old girl who stayed quiet, it was like I was in a courtroom with a 15-year-old girl in an adult body, and a 7-year-old, a 9-year-old, and an 11-year-old, and it was all our little girls in that courtroom. All these women took the stand. One of them, at 49 years old, had to stand behind a blanket so that she couldn't see him in court. The courtroom was packed. This case was worldwide news. It was on the news every single day. It was the biggest court case of its kind that we've ever seen, and the biggest fall from grace of anybody that we've ever seen. He was stripped of titles and monuments. He painted the Queen. He was friends with the royal family, and then he was not friends with the royal family. It had a huge effect on society, but society took a long time to actually believe us and catch up with the fact that we were not lying. So I was going on my journey, and whilst he was in jail, still not being a dress swearer, and I was in a relationship, in a marriage that was not really doing as well as it should have. I was, and a lot of us have been in relationships that we've been in there for a while, and we find that domestic violence can happen, psychological and mental abuse can happen. Sometimes relationships don't really go the way they're supposed to, and there's often winners and losers in that. And domestic violence is not always physical. It's often mental and emotional. I was not in a good place with my husband. I was going through menopause. That in itself, I'm sure lots of ladies out there know what that's like, is a very difficult journey, one that you need as much support as possible with. And I was in a place of great unhappiness with my husband at the time. And I started listening to motivational speakers when I went on my daily walks, like Les Brown. So, you have greatness in you. I really needed to try and build myself up and find who I was in this relationship that I felt really trapped in. Every morning I'd wake up, and every day was like a Groundhog Day of sameness. Every day had the same anger from my husband at the time, the same everything. It was not a good existence. It was very unhappy. I was losing myself, and my natural joy and my really high vibrating energy was really rock bottom, and I wasn't doing very well. And so listening to motivational speakers was very inspiring. And then when I learned about that to actually make change in our lives, we have to make ourselves uncomfortable. And in 2016, actually, the end of 2016, I got approached by this woman who was she was the head of the Mrs. Earth beauty competition. And she'd seen a photograph of me online as a makeup artist, and she contacted me and she said, "We think that you'd be a really good fit as a pageant contestant for Mrs. Earth Australia." And I literally fell off the bed laughing, because I hadn't worn a dress for 30 years. I didn't actually own a pair of high heel shoes, never mind being able to walk in them. I loved beauty pageants. As a makeup artist, I was one of the makeup artists for Miss Universe. I loved watching the girls and knew all about that side of it, but never once had I ever dreamed of going in this or would ever have approached anybody to go in it myself. And I stood there and I realised that my prayers had really just been answered, that I was having a sliding doors moment, that I could have stayed where I was and ignored this incredible gift that was being given to me way out of left field to a non-dress wearer. But there's people that supported a charity called Souls for Souls, which collected new and used shoes for people all around the world who had no shoes. And I also do wardrobe and dress people in commercials. So I did a lot of secondhand shopping and had a lot of secondhand clothes. And I just thought, God has sent me, the universe, God has sent me this gift, and I have to say yes to it. And I didn't ask my husband. I said yes. And you know what, everybody, when you say yes to something and you say yes to these experiences, you can change the trajectory of your life. And I didn't even think about wearing dresses. I had actually thought at one stage, having made thousands of women beautiful for their weddings, wearing beautiful gowns, that I didn't actually want to get to 70 and have never worn a gown. And never experienced that in my life, and I was been given this opportunity, and I had this kind of psychological fear of wearing dresses because it really did feel like I lost my power and I really did feel exposed. And I know I've spoken to women over the years that have felt in a similar way, and they've dressed down and covered themselves up. And it's interesting how we respond to things and respond to different traumas, isn't it, in our lives? So I started going out and talking I became a finalist, right? And I was talking about Souls for Souls. And I was 55 at the time. I'm a big believer. You're crying again. I was a big believer in age is just a number. You can do whatever you want at any age. And I thought, I'm being given this opportunity to do this. And once again, I was doing something for somebody else. I was raising, like in the Rolf Harris court case, I didn't come forward for me. I came forward for the women who were little girls when they were molested by this man. It wasn't about me. It was about them, So once again, I was talking about a charity, and I was given the opportunity I got sponsored by a national company. I was their sponsor around the world. They gave me a PR agent. I had PR around the country. I went down. I started immersing myself into the world of pageantry. I am a bit of a go-getter. I do like to do things at 150% if I do something. I started embracing the world of pageantry and finding out all about pageantry. And each day I would visualise myself on a stage and hear my name called out, Mrs. Earth Australia 2017, Suzi Dent, yes! And I would fill myself up with excitement of becoming Mrs. Earth Australia, and I believed it 100%. I thought I was the oldest competitor. I didn't let that stop me. I thought, this is my journey. I'm going to take my journey and I'm just going to go for it. I like to say that I cured my psychological fear of dresses one frock at a time. I had a gown made for me, my very first gown at 55 that I'd ever worn. It was my design. And when the lady made it, it was quite sheer across here, and I'd never shown my cleavage. And I looked down and I went, oh, my God, I can see my breasts. And she's like, don't look down. I'm like, no, I can see them. They're there. It's freaking me out. I just went into this fear place that you could actually see my cleavage. And she had appliques on this beautiful gown, and she popped one right here, so I couldn't see my cleavage. And it was great. And I went down to Melbourne, and I did. It's a proper pageant. It turns out I was in the third biggest pageant in the world. I won Mrs. Earth Australia, which was amazing. I got the funny thing is when you manifest something and you really want something, you have to be prepared to receive it. I had a PR agent who had already organised an interview for me because we believed I was going to win.
Wow.
You have to have that level of self-belief if you want to do something. And even if I hadn't won, it was still extraordinary that at 55 I got to the finalist, in a beauty competition competing against women who were in their 20s. So I won, and I started giving interviews. 3 months later, I find myself in Vegas representing my country, Australia, competing against 36 women from around the world who were all different ages. I had the opportunity and was offered the opportunity to go into the 40 up category. And I thought, no, that's too easy. I want to compete on the level playing field. I want to be against everybody. I want the whole experience, I don't want to use my age to any advantage or disadvantage. So in some of these countries, they're so big on pageantry, and they had competed in all their states to get to represent their country. So it's a really big deal. By that time, I might add, I had a little thing. I had to practice walking in high heel shoes, right? And I did that before I got there, but I won these 6-inch stiletto heels that I'd never worn in my entire life. For the 3 months leading up to going to Vegas, for the first 2 weeks, I literally just stood in them at the end of my bed on the carpet just to get my balance, right? When I was walking these, I felt like a thunderbird, like a puppet, like a gummy. I teach myself how to walk from the hips, how to glide like I had a book on my head, so that because it's all about your walking, how you present, how you speak, and how you present yourself. It's like you're going for a job. You have, and you have. There's also you have your gown section, you have your interview section, which is really important, and you have a swimwear section. And there's no way I was wearing a bikini or a one piece out on the stage in front of the world. I'd only just become a dress wearer. I wasn't going to take off my clothes. My husband and I at the time, there was also sportswear. So you could wear sportswear or a swimsuit with, the really high heels. My husband, he Googled, he found a Bond girl inspired scuba suit, and I had it made for me. It had short sleeves. It had like a boy leg. It was blue with black around the waist, so it looked like my waist was truly trimmed in. I was really fit and had guns like I do now. I strapped a dive knife to my arm, a dive knife to my thigh. That were not knives because it was America and I didn't want to get busted when I went through customs. And I walked out on that stage in my heels, and I stood at the end and I went, rah! And I scored 9.5s, 3 9.5s.
Wow.
From all 4 judges, which catapulted my score to one of the very top. Just like in the movies, like Sandra Bullock in the movies, I got to stand at the back of the stage as one of the 6 top finalists with the head things on. So they ask the special, all the girls, a special question that you can't hear. And I'm standing there thinking, this is so surreal. I can't believe I'm here. Half the women that were there I could have given birth to. That's how old they were. I was having the time of my life. Really standing to my power as a woman and as an older woman representing older women. It was just amazing. I didn't let my age be any problem or didn't hold me back in any way from achieving what I was doing. And then I was granted, I won 3rd place, which blew me away. I received press around the world as the 55-year-old tomboy to beauty queen. I was on international shows. 2 hours after I arrived home in Australia, I had a camera crew at my house for our biggest morning show interviewing me. I was still talking about the shoes and Souls for Souls. My sash and my crown were like they were a bit like Wonder Woman's cape and her like, what was it, her shield. So whenever I'd go, so I built up my confidence. Each time I'd wear my sash and my crown, people would come up to me and go, wow, what are you, who are you talking about? So any shyness that I might have had, this was my armor.
Wow.
So I stepped into being Mrs. Earth, and I actually would say I'm going to go be Mrs. Earth today. And my confidence and my self-esteem, my confidence was always really high, but my self-esteem was quite low, and it had taken quite a hit over the years, especially not ever wearing dresses. And some of these women that I was competing against, they were born in stilettos. I mean, they sleep in them, When I went, I had I got this numbing cream that you get if you have tattoos, and I put it all over my feet, so I couldn't even feel my feet when I walked out on that stage. And I'd done enough walk in them because I didn't want to fall over and face plant in front of the world, and I didn't. I glided when I was supposed to glide, and I was glamorous when I was supposed to be glamorous, and I answered all the questions, and it blew my mind to receive 3rd place or 3rd runner-up or whatever, no, 3rd place. I then got to talk about ageism in society, and living your life, and not letting age be a barrier, and not letting age, society's constructs of your age actually hold you back from being the person that you want to be, because age is just a number, ladies and gentlemen. You can be whatever you want to be at whatever age. Never, ever, ever let you or anybody else exactly tell you that you're too old to do anything. In fact, the older you get, the more likely you are to do many things, because you don't actually care what people think as much. When we're younger, we have this fear of what other people might say about us. But when we get older, not so much. You kind of do things. So I stepped into that, and I stepped into my power as a woman, and I found my true authentic self and stepped into my full feminine again, which was just amazing and such a gift that life gave me. And I didn't know I was going to get these gifts because I did things for other people. There's two big things, you know. I received a huge healing when I was in England in 2014 inside the walls of Stonehenge. I had a shamanic healing when I was there the week after the court case, and cried bucket loads of tears at dawn as the sun rose, kind of shining through the stones of Stonehenge. And I'm sitting in there with my girlfriend, and we were being blessed with water from the chalice well where Jesus was supposed to have wept. It was the most religious experience I'd ever had in my life. My face changed from the beginning of that. An hour later, I looked like the burdens that I'd been carrying were just completely lifted off me. It was the most amazing thing. So I said yes to coming forward for the court case, a really big deal. I said yes to being a beauty queen and changed my life completely. The doors of motivational speaking opened to me all around the world. I became a sexual assault victims advocate in 2019. The world was ready to hear my story, and I was ready to tell it, because becoming Mrs. Earth had given me the experience that I needed to speak on stages. I had the best coaches in the world training me, teaching me how to do and how to tell my story. I had the confidence to dress the way that society expects us to dress, because I lived in T-shirts and shorts and runners, and that's not really a great way to look on an international stage. So I knew how to dress. I felt comfortable dressing like that. And I was accepted beautifully around the world. I've had some most amazing interviews, met the most amazing people who have changed my life along the way. And I feel incredibly blessed to have the journey that I've had, and becoming the diamond that I always was inside. And that soul, like the show says, my diamond soul came forward and shone brightly out of me so that others could see. And I shone very brightly, and I still shine very brightly now. And my beauty queen thing opened the doors to many other women who were older and thought they were too old. And they thought, well, if Suzi Dent could do it, I can do it too. And do it they did, which is great. When I strutted out where they're wearing that Bond Girl inspired scuba suit, I also changed everything for swimwear back then. It then became, I crossed that very grey line, as I like to do, in between saying, well, it's actually swimwear, it's not actually, you know. So I changed it so that you didn't have to take all your clothes off. And I spoke to the male judges afterwards, and they said I was dead sexy walking out there in that suit, and with that power and with that confidence. And that's what it's about. It's about confidence and having the confidence in yourself and not being afraid to step into whatever you want to do. And sometimes life sends us these things and these journeys to go on. And if you step into your fear, you will never know. And you must never be scared of failing, because if you don't try, you'll never know. And if you fail, that's because you've tried and you've given it a go and you've learnt on your journey what you need to do. And this, after that, I've written 2 books. My latest book I launched last year, which is called 60 is the New 40, The Ultimate Guide to Defying Age. And I talk about a diet and exercise and mindset and communication and everything we need. Oh, that's beautiful. Everything we need as we grow older to step into who we are as after menopause. And when I talk about menopause, and to step into who you are. And sometimes we need to make changes in our lives to be true to ourselves. I divorced my husband to free us both from a toxic relationship that we were in. He's doing much better. I'm doing fabulously. Sometimes as women, when we're in relationships with men, we put men before us. And I realised that I loved my husband more than I loved myself. And I had to learn to love myself more. then I loved him. And that's exactly what I did when I became a beauty queen and I stepped into my full power and I gained my confidence and my self-esteem. So I've had a very powerful journey so far. And, and I've now, like last year, I was in the UK for 4 months. I've been part of 2 international documentaries talking about the Rolf Harris court case, sexual assault in the workplace, and the power of healing and forgiveness, and how important it is to speak up, to step up and speak out, not just for yourselves but for others. It's the only way we actually make change in society is when we speak up. And when we hear others speak up, we relate to them and we have a solidarity with them. And that if we haven't spoken up about things that have gone on with us, it gives us the strength to actually just tell one person, not necessarily on a world stage like I've done, but you just tell one person. And each person you tell, the more times it comes out, it becomes an easier story to tell. And your healing journey starts. And that's so important. So I've been talking around the world. I've reached over 30 million people so far. I've been blessed to be asked to be in these 2 international documentaries. I've had people reach out to me from countries all over, men and women, to talk to me about their sexual assaults and their experiences. And I'm so blessed and so humbled to have been able to help them on their journeys because of my journey. So now I sit here in front of you. I'm very happy, very centered, full of joy. I found myself and my freedom. I'm an international speaker. I use all my journey now and everything I learned about media and 40 years now in film and television to teach others how to find their story and tell their story. I have a fabulous little back book of press contacts, and I teach you how to actually speak on camera, how to tell your story, and how to get your story out there, just like I'm doing now with you, Sonette. And I'm so very, I've just had a blessed life that's full of abundance, and I've met the most amazing people. And I know there's many of you out there that have met me as well online, and some of you in person, and that's extraordinary. And I'm so very pleased to have told you my story, and I hope that there's many of you out there that will relate to some of the aspects of my story, and it will give you the strength and the inspiration to come forward and to tell yours and to either continue on your healing journey or start yours.
Wow, amazing. You made me feel like my jaw is never going to come back because I smiled and I cried. Your story is beautiful. You are beautiful. You showed us that if you take care of yourself first, because even when you said that you knew you loved your husband more than you loved yourself because you stayed, that's how incredible your story is. And for me personally, through everything I do, I want to let people, especially ladies, know you are worthy to love yourself unconditionally. And you are worthy of so much. So I love it, my beautiful Susie. We have still a few more minutes to go. I would love you to tell the ladies and gentlemen, if you can, what happened last year, because you visit UK and then that incident happened and it was a miracle and you stayed even longer than when you were supposed to.
Oh, look, it's funny, isn't it? When you learn about manifestation, they tell you, the people that you listen to, that when you manifest something or you wish for something, it's not for us to figure out how it happens. We change our mindset. We believe that we have received it. Like I said, I believed, and every day I was listening in my head, I'm like, Mrs. Earth Australia, and I won, and I believed that I was going to win, and I prepared to receive the win. So I went over to the UK. I was going over to the UK because I was divorced, because I wanted to go and visit my cousins, because the launch of the second documentary on ITVX was coming, and I thought, and I wanted to launch my book over there, 60 is the New 40, at the London Expo. And before I left, I said to the world, to the universe, to God, I want 4 interviews on 4 really big stations. I want 4 major interviews. This is what I want. This is what I'd like to receive. And I went over there. I went over for 3 weeks, right? And I went over a week before. I didn't have any interviews locked in. I went over a week before the actual documentary was about to be released. I told them I was coming, so the producers knew I was coming. I had nothing lined up. I just trusted and believed that it would happen. I got to be on Good Morning Britain, which is one of the biggest shows over there, and I was given the red carpet treatment. They sent me a car to pick me up, and I went to the studio. It was really fun. I met some major stars there. Walked straight into the makeup department. And you know what the most amazing thing was? When I walked into the makeup department, and I do that not to get my hair and makeup done. I do that because that's where I belong. So I'm very happy in a TV studio. I don't feel uncomfortable, and I'm not in the slightest bit intimidated because I've spent 40 years of my life there. So I go and introduce myself to the makeup artist. There was 3 of them there, and one of the ladies who was a bit younger than me, they knew why I was there. And I was talking to them about my story, and she came out to me and she told me that she too had been molested by Rolf Harris. Only like months before, he was actually sent to jail. And she'd never told anybody before. I was the first person that she'd told. Bear in mind, this was before I went. I was just about to go on live television to tell my story. It was the most amazing thing. I give this woman the biggest hug because she now begins her healing journey. And she had a solidarity with me, not just as a makeup artist, but as a sexual assault victim. And it was so powerful. And it blew me away. And it was like the best rah to go on stage, to go onto the set and speak to millions of people live, which was great. That was extraordinary. And now, as I said, you don't figure out how you get things. So I went and visited one of my friends in Dublin. Whilst I'm in Dublin, she actually says to me, why are you going home? You don't need to go home. Why don't you stay? And I went, you know what? I will. Very next day, I get called, Rolf Harris has died. I get inundated with press because I've become the go-to person because of the documentaries and because of I've pretty much become the voice of this case. So the universe, he was 93, I had nothing to do with it, I swear, knocks him off, right? So, which is very advantageous to me being over there. So whilst I'm in Dublin, coming back to the UK, one of the producers of Good Morning Britain had a 3-way conversation with, I think it was The Sun, a reporter from The Sun and a reporter from The Times. I'm sitting in the airport in Dublin, waiting to catch my plane, having an interview, doing a live interview. Then I'm walking to catch my plane. I'm on the tarmac giving an interview to The Times. I mean, The Times. That blew me away. Whilst there are people on the bus waiting to go there, and I'm just finishing up my call and my interview with The Times, which is great. I don't have an ego about anything. I just get very excited at the journey that life has pulled me on. And then when I got back to the UK, I was on live television shows, live crosses to Australia. I was on interviewed on Sky News. They had, I think, 5 million people watching me just as I was live. I had interviews with Current Affairs, but I'd bought my selfie light. I'd bought my things in preparation for my interview. So preparation is key. Believe that you're going to receive it. Because in the UK, it's midnight. In Australia, it's daytime. There's no light. You've got to take your selfie light. You have to have that self-assuredness that you're going to receive what you wish for. And receive it, I did tenfold. I've been on some of the biggest podcasts in Britain and crime podcasts. I've reached out to more and more people have heard my story and been touched by it and been able to tell their own story. And it was extraordinary time. And I ended up staying for nearly 4 months, which was huge. And I had an amazing time that I spent with my female cousins over there, who I hadn't actually spent any time with. Not quality time anyway. And I had a blast. I caught up with people in a community that I used to be in that had been friends online. I met people in person that I'd been friends online with. That's what I was doing in Dublin. That's what I did in the UK. I chose people over places and chose to spend my time and catch up with people that I loved online. Because when you meet someone in person and you get to have a cuddle and feel their energy, it's just the most amazing thing. When you've been online and you've just been talking on computers. It was an extraordinary journey last year. I have even more things coming I'll tell you now. I'm going to announce it now. I've been offered to be in a co-authored book that is written by two men that trained. They were Tony Robbins as coaches. I'm getting to. I'll be on the cover of a book with Les Brown, the man who I listened to whilst I was walking all those years ago, learning, to build myself up and who I really was. Life has given me a gift to be in an amazing community of TED speakers that are going to catapult me to the next level, so I can help more and more people around the world. And I'm going to be 62 next month. I'm so excited to be here. And to be on this amazing journey that life has given me, and to be able to share it all with you guys and encourage you to never say no, always say yes. You never know what's going to happen. Don't doubt yourself. Step into your power, like Sonette, who's done the most amazing job for all of us, stepping into her stardom as an amazing producer of a magazine, a television show, podcasts, and she has opened up the world for so many women to also have experiences like I have, and I get to be one of her experts to help you guys get your story out to the world and maybe have as big an impact as I have. And this is what we're here for, to share our life experiences with others as we get older. Don't keep it to yourself. Step forward, step up, speak out, and share your story to help others.
Wow, amazing. You letting me cry again. Thank you so much, my beautiful Susie. So we almost, time is almost up for our show. I've written a song for our beautiful Soul of a Diamond. I have one gentleman that have read the song for me, but now I do have another gentleman that is going to compose the song and sing it for me. But for now, here is From My Heart to Yours. Beautiful Dr. Alexander. Michael Alexander is reading it for us. Here we go.
Moments of moving from here to there between the star and the moon's soft glare capture a glimpse of light so rare, radiant and shining, our hearts declare for the world to see in love's grand affair. Moments of our lives that are filled with laughter keep us going, hearts thrilled, capture the essence of who we are in the spirit of a child like a shooting star. Moments to share our true stories so bright, not only for the world to heal, take flight, but to remind us how amazing we are. Forever moving forward, a radiant star to create magic near and far. In the radiance of each heart's soft glow, we find the strength to carry on and grow. Shining bright, our love doth show in every moment, from dusk till dawn's soft flow. Radiant hearts, we shine so bright, in the diamond moments of love and light. Together we rise, our spirits take flight in the beauty of each day and every night. With courage.
Did you love the words of this amazing poem, actually?
That's beautiful. It's perfect, isn't it?
Wow. So I did give the gentleman authority. He can change not change too much of the wording, but he can take some off if it doesn't fit in the song to do the melody. So I cannot wait for his rendition. And then because it will be my song and it will be copyright to me, I will be able to play it on this amazing platform. Doing our next series of book compilation. So this is going to be our first book compilation, and then the song will be ready when I started with book number 2. So truly amazing. So my beautiful ladies and gentlemen, I hope that you loved today's session. There was no way for me to bring in anyone's beautiful comment because it's a recording. And when it was time for beautiful Susie to come and speak, it was 1 o'clock or 2 o'clock a.m. So we decided to do the recording before the time. So we did the recording almost a week, 2 weeks in advance, but that's good. So you are welcome on YouTube channel, on E360's TV network with Roku, everywhere you can leave comments, and in the Diamond Forever Diamonds Forever Beauty. Sorry, Diamond. I want to give you the magazine name. Diamond Beauties Forever. You can also comment there because we will not bring in the comments. I cannot highlight it as this will be then a recording. So I just want to say thank you for all. Thank you for being part of an amazing community. Thank you for taking care of yourself, because by taking care of yourself and your family, you are making the world a better place. My beautiful Susie, thank you for being here. You are amazing, and I love you with all my heart.